Hey everybody, it's Waldata here, and this video stems from a tweet by Mauisnake, which boils the play down to this question. Is this the correct decision to make in spite of it violating typical Counter-Strike number theory, which is a core principle of Counter-Strike team play? Now, the reason I'm making this video is to illustrate how a few seconds can demand very complicated decisions in the micro, and they can only be correctly played out if you have so much experience that you know about these encounters, and even then, you might be making a mistake or two. So I'm going to play the clip. It's from ESL Pro League Season 14. It's the quarterfinals between Team Heroic and Team Liquid. So you can see the situation right here.
Want to go back to Banana Naf like this is
Okay,
not
so
where
he
you
gets
want
the
to find
advantage here.
yourself.
Now, he had the chance to back off. As you saw, the molly, it hadn't quite bloomed. But if he tried to go back, he would have been able to. I mean, he has enough HP for it. But he swings out wide, and he tries to take advantage of the smoke instead.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Doesn't work
Pushing
out.
Ahead, traded after one,
Ends
and
up
now
basically
rotation's
giving up the
getting
bomb
called for.
sites.
It's
Stu
only
is
the
not there
low
in
HP
time, and
Stewie
that
left in this
basically
bomb
means
site.
that
While
Heroic
this is
can get on
happening,
very
refresh is
comfortably.
late.
Now, I know that wasn't a massive decision for him to take, but in those 3 or 4 seconds, a lot could have happened instead. So there are 3 things that he can do. I know that you can probably come up with 5 billion ways of going about it, but realistically speaking, there are 3 major things he can do. He can tuck himself behind the wall, and he can take duels with the off angle. He doesn't have to peek out, maybe just hopes that they walk into his crosshairs. He runs back through the Molotov, and he keeps the advantage, he keeps the numbers advantage, or he swings out, which is what happened, by the way. He swings out, he tries to get a duel through the smoke, and he hopes for the best. So what are the implications of each play, and what do I think about it? In the first scenario that I mentioned, if he does not peek out, he tucks himself behind the wall, since the Molotov doesn't allow him to move back without taking any HP. If he tries to go for repeaks, it's going to be a bad duel. It relies way too much on hitting crazy shots. If he uses his flashbang, which he does have, by the way, if he uses it to delay, that's not really going to buy him too much time either, since Stewie can't get there in time. The problem with this play is that not only does it not allow him to take the numbers advantage, but it also gives him an even worse duel than peeking out. So out of the 3 scenarios that I think could have happened, this is by far the worst thing to do. He peeks out, maybe has an advantage through the smoke. If he backs off, he maybe has an advantage with Stewie. But playing from here, it basically means that he can't play the numbers, nor can he get a favorable duel. Now, scenario number 2 is where he runs through the Molotov, and they will slow down because they haven't gotten the kill. And Stewie gets enough time to rotate, although he is very low HP, but that still gives him enough time, that still gives him the opportunity to have a better duel because it's 2 players, and then it plays number theory correctly as well. The problem with this is that he loses HP in the process of getting back, and because Stewie is low as well, combine that with no utility, and you've got a bomb site that is going to be very difficult to hold on to unless they call another rotation in. The duels won't be easy, but this is still a reasonable play to make because Heroic's not going to push up immediately, that buys them more time, and that still leaves Naf with enough HP to have a reasonable battle going on. Now, scenario number 3 is what actually happened. And it could have gone either way. So he peeks out, he tries to leverage the smoke for kills. If he gets a multi-kill, it's a massive advantage. If he doesn't, they push and they try to kill Stewie off early. Well, with Stewie having no suppressive utility or HP, it's probably likely that he's not going to be able to do anything about it. And the reason Naf goes for this play is because he realizes that between backing off, running through the Molotov, and peeking out wide, he can either take an advantageous duel right now, shooting through the smoke, or he can leave it to another duel when he backs off, and because he's going to have to take those duels anyway, by the way, since they have no suppressive utility. And at that time, he felt that it was better to peek out, because if Staven hadn't crept past the smoke, that smoke advantage is actually quite significant, and he would have been set up for the multi-kill. Now, the way I see it, if the smoke was deeper, it would be the correct play, because if Staven hadn't crept past, he peeks right out, gets that frag, and it should be a multi-kill, no problem at all. But since the smoke allowed Staven to slip through, it's not the best play in the world. It puts him in a very bad disadvantage, and the wide swing simply doesn't work out. So the point of making this video isn't to scrutinize Naf's play here. It's to illustrate that when you're making micro decisions, you have to ask yourself the question, is it worth it to give a small advantage up for a solid chance at securing an even bigger one? The answer over here for Naf was probably yes, because 2E was so low that backing off into the bomb site leaves you with 2 relatively unhealthy players, and it leaves you with barely any utility to defend. So he took the shot he thought was best. He decided to peek out wide, and given how tense the game was, they were looking for every advantage they could get. Now, obviously, this doesn't map out every single possibility that there is, but hopefully that does make you sort of think about how even within 3 or 4 seconds, a lot can happen inside a player's mind. You have to choose between peeking out, you have to choose between playing number theory, and it also illustrates how strictly playing off of the numbers is not exactly the way to go. And while number theory generally does apply really well, it's not always the way to go, and you can't always be mad at a player when he goes for a play that doesn't really fit your definition of Counter-Strike. Once again, thank you to Mauisnake for pointing this out, because obviously it's a very small microplay. I probably would have glossed over it when I was watching the stream myself, and obviously a lot of people left comments on that thread as well, which gave me a lot of insight into making a video like this one. So I'm going to leave the Twitter thread in the description as well, and you can go ahead and check it out for yourself as well.